Hi everyone, Carter Krishnaiyer here for Beyond the 90. First off, I want to apologize to everybody. There was no World Cup Daily yesterday for the cricket. I'm surprised how many people have been interested in the tournament and our coverage of the tournament. I thought maybe it would be just a small niche. So I'm really busy with my day job with these guys, doing this stuff. We're close to a municipal election in Boca Raton. There's lots of things happening on the Florida Atlantic University campus, which is a major state university. Those of you who follow college sports probably know FAU, which is in town. So, and as one of the editors at our newspaper, really kind of the person sitting right below the publisher at the paper, there's just a lot that's happening recently. So. Unfortunately was not able to do a World Cup Daily yesterday or have this conversation specifically about USL that I wanted to have 2 days ago. Busy time. Our municipal elections, by the way, are March 10th, which coincide with the couple days after the first week of USL Championship and USL League One action. So we'll have more bandwidth after that. And the World Cup will be done by then. So we'll have much more bandwidth after that, hopefully, probably. So let's talk about some of what I'm hearing from players. And Robbie Mertz from the Riverhounds, the champion, Pittsburgh Riverhounds, and one of the core players for many years on that team, has spoken out about the owners viewing players like himself simply as expenses. I've heard other players tell me, well, we're just commodities to the owners. And let me say this. I'm someone that has worked in front offices of multiple lower division clubs. And there is definitely some truth to the idea that players are just expenses and are commodities, depending on which club you're at. Commodities and expenses are two very different things, because commodities are something you want to nurture and protect and eventually sell on. Maybe that was a model for Tormenta FC, which, as we know, will not field a men's professional team in 2026 in League One. But there were also clubs who did see the players as expenses and were trying to keep the compensation structure in such a manner that they could get away with effectively not paying players what their market value was. Now, I do have to give another caveat here, though. And this is some of you out there are not going to like this. And I'm talking specifically about this level of soccer. I am not saying you can go 0-12 in college football and expect no drop-off in alumni donations or crowds. I'm not saying you can go, how many games are in an NBA season? 82. I'm not saying you can go 20-62 and no one's going to care and the crowds are going to be the same. But I am saying specific to this level of soccer, I have seen time and again, and I've actually done regression analysis on this, for one or two clubs. Now, going back several years, but still, there is only a loose correlation between winning and size of crowds and sponsorship sales. Only a loose correlation. In many cases, it is easier to keep your expenses down, field a losing team, but do other things correctly in your business, which would be, and one of my cats, Daisy, is making an appearance. Hi, Daisy. We have an artificial plant there that she has become fascinated with. Her brother, who passed away kind of very suddenly last year, was perfectly healthy 1 minute and then had some sort of cardiac event, and we rushed him to the doctor and we couldn't save him. He used to be fascinated with that plant also. Daisy, no, Daisy. Anyway, the issue that I am trying to articulate here, the point I'm trying to articulate here is, in a lot of cases for owners, if you cut the expenses of players, but you do the other things right, you're marketing properly, you're getting sponsorships, your games are fun. Going to the match is fun and interesting for for people in your market, the people you're marketing to, whether they're young adults, whether they're families with children, whether they're soccer snobs. If there is an atmosphere around the match, the winning and losing doesn't matter that much. I'm telling you, I've done this analysis. I know a lot of you are going to just say that's counterintuitive, but I can even give you the example of one of the clubs. I think it now makes a difference because last season they weren't very good and we saw a drop off in attendance and people actually attending games in Tampa Bay and St. Pete. But the Rowdies, historically, I will tell you, from 2011 to 2000, let's say 17, 18 at Al Lang, their best attendance years were the years they were the worst. Some of their worst attendance years were the years they were winning, including the year they won the NASL title. I can say this from my time in Fort Lauderdale. Our very best, so the first 5 seasons of the new NASL, Fort Lauderdale made the postseason 4 times. Only club that did that, of that original batch of clubs that started in 2011. Everybody else, it was 3 or less times in that first 5 years. Fort Lauderdale's best attendance year of those first 5 years was the year we didn't make the playoffs. Because we were focused on getting youth clubs out to games. We were focused on marketing to the community. When you're not winning, sometimes you focus on other things. And I'm just telling you, it's not what you always think. So in that case, the players who say, well, we're just expenses, someone like Robbie Mertz says that, yeah, for some owners you are. And that's a sad reality. I don't like that. I'm about the sport. I'm about the competition. I'm about football. I'm always going to, my personal orientation, I'm always going to side with workers over management, unless it's something really egregious that the workers are doing or something ridiculous they're demanding. But I will tell you, for some owners, these players, particularly ones that aren't marketable, that you can't put their name on the back of a shirt and sell a million kits, they're not that important. They are just an expense. Now, let's talk about the commodities piece, because there are a lot of clubs here in the lower divisions, in USL in particular, USL Championship, USL League One, that have commoditized players. So they're playing the transfer market. They're buying guys young. They're bringing them into academies. They're even, in some cases, poaching players from MLS academies. And then they're at that point, flipping guys in a year or two. We've seen a number of success stories, guys going from USL to Europe, guys going from USL to MLS. And I would also, this is a video for another time, but MLS often is undercutting the potential transfer fee for some of those guys. They go for more if it was truly a free market situation. So there are owners who see players as commodities, and they're going to look at veteran players who they can't sell, guys over the age of 25, 26, and say, you know what? We're not going to give in to these guys because they don't do anything for our business. The 18 and 19-year-olds do. So a guy like Mo Dieng in Hartford, he does something for our business. We've sold him on to Minnesota. Bruce Mandel in Hartford, who is one of the hardline owners in this league, can say that. So that's kind of a thing to consider. That's something to really consider when you're talking about players and that sort of thing. So I don't like it. I wish it weren't the case, but I'm going to tell you, in a lot of cases, owners see these players as dispensable. And if that's the attitude of enough owners, and again, I'm giving you some justification for it. I don't like it personally. I don't side. I think people should be paid what they're worth and what the free market dictates. And I think these players are getting underpaid based on market conditions. Most players in USL are underpaid. The majority, in my opinion. But I'm also telling you from an owner's perspective, it's not that straightforward. Because winning and losing doesn't matter that much. Now, in fact, winning is only an incentive in USL if you get to host a bunch of playoff games and you get to open the gates and you happen to own your stadium or you have a sweetheart lease, and then you can generate extra revenue. I'm going to tell you, if you make the playoffs as the 8th seed in the USL Championship, It's almost not worth it to make the playoffs because you're having to pay to travel. It's almost not worth it to advance deep in the Open Cup without winning anything, unless you're the team that advances the deepest from this particular division, from your particular division, because of the expenses associated with it. And it's not doing anything necessarily for your business. So all of those things need to be considered. And I don't want this to be interpreted as, oh no, Kartik, after all these months of talking about how terrible the working conditions are in USL, now he's signing with management because he wants there to be a season. No, this is not that at all. I'm just saying, I know how they think. I've been in that position. I've even been hired by a couple clubs to do an analysis of their attendance and the correlation with winning and losing, and player payroll. That was the other thing that correlated in that analysis I did. And again, it was like 8 years ago. 7 years ago, sorry, it was 2019. But it's a very loose correlation. You're better off not spending very much, not winning, if you can get the other parts of your business right and attract fans and attract sponsors. It's just the reality.